Hi, gang. It's Leslie L. Harrington, your favorite health coach and yoga therapist. Happy to bring you this nice and easy flow yoga practice. Just 30 minutes to get us to a yoga snack, a yoga treat, to get us moving and to get us all stretched out for the day. So let's go ahead and find our way to easy seated pose. Just crossing the legs in front of each other. And let's start to take our time to breathe. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Just finding our way to a seated position as we focus on our breath, letting go of the last few moments, the last few days, the last few weeks, the last few years. Let that be in the past so that we can bring ourselves into this present moment. Noticing the inhalation and the exhalation, in and out through the nose if possible. This helps to cleanse, humidify the breath. If that's not comfortable for any reason, feel free to breathe in any manner that feels best. Let's start to find our belly breath, so we can always take our hands to our belly. Inhale, belly expands, and exhale, belly contracts. Just noticing how the belly rises and falls with each inhale and each exhale. Now starting to see if we can slow down that inhalation. Perhaps we add a count to the inhalation and finding a count on the exhalation, matching the inhale and the exhale. We'll start to turn it into our three-part breath. So as we inhale, belly expands, ribs expand, and chest lifts and broadens. And then as we exhale, we reverse that process from chest to ribs to belly. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest lifts and broadens, filling the cup up, our torso. And then exhaling. As we start to move, taking our time, we inhale, reach the hands overhead. And reaching one hand to the earth, one hand to the sky. Let's do some side lateral flexions. Inhaling, hands reaching up, and exhaling. Feel a stretch through the side waist. We'll do that a few more times. Inhale, reaching up, and exhaling. Inhale, reach it up, and exhale. This time as we inhale, lift it up, and then holding here. We can gaze up or gaze down, or even close our eyes here. Let's take it to the other side. Inhale, reaching up, and exhaling, hand to the ground, the other hand lifting to the sky. Always can make some adjustments. We can take our elbow back if we need to take it out of the shoulder. We listen to our body and honor where we're at for today. Let's inhale, reach the hands overhead, forward folding, exhaling, hinging from our hips, keeping some length in the spine here, reaching forward through the chest toward the earth. Let's inhale, reach the hands overhead. For chest expansion, we take our hands by our sides, palms facing forward, lift the chest toward the sky, gazing forward or toward the sky. Nice opening, broadening through the front of the body. And then slowly release. We'll switch the legs so that the other one is now in front. We inhale, take the hands overhead, and then exhale to a forward fold. Sitting forward, resting here. One or two more breaths here. As we surrender and let go. Inhaling, taking the hands overhead. Exhaling, hands by our sides, palms facing to the earth, fingers pointing forward. We have the chest expansion, or if we'd like, go ahead and roll forward, lift those hips, opening through the entire front body. So depending on how we're feeling today and what we need, we can adjust the practice as we go to fit our energy level, to fit where we're taking care of in the body. And let's go ahead and find our way to child's pose. So just coming to those shins, sinking those hips back, rounding through the spine, resting the head toward the earth. They can rest on the hands or by your sides. Just knowing we take a moment here in child's pose to rest, to restore. We can always come to child's at any time during our practice today. Let's go ahead and make our way to all fours. So we're finding our wrist over underneath our shoulders, around the back toward the sky, tuck the chin toward the chest, and then slowly sinking and doing the opposite here. So heart center forward. Move and flow a few times. We're just taking the gaze softly forward and back, but we move from the hips first, one vertebrae at a time. As we move and flow, warming up everything along the spine. Notice how good this feels to get some movement of those muscles that might be tight along the spine in different areas. And then as we gaze down at those hands, we just check in, middle fingers pointing forward, fingers are starfished wide, so giving us the biggest space to take pressure off the wrist as we press kind of into that pointer finger and thumb and where it connects. Last round, reaching the back toward the sky, and then slowly switching to the opposite. And let's sink back to child's pose once again. Hands can be stacked or on top of each other or arms by our sides in child's pose. Finding perhaps our Ujjayi breath, that whisper breath. You can think of it as our Darth Vader breath, just hollowing out the back of the throat, making a little bit of a sound to ourselves like an ocean wave coming into the shore and out. Use this as our metronome throughout our practice, kind of keeping ourselves steady in the present moment. Let's extend those hands forward once again. Extended child's pose, Utthita Balasana. Then we inhale, lift forward to a kneeling plank. Come on forward so that we're straight from crown of head to knees. And then draw it back to child's pose. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale, lift on forward. And then exhale, press on back. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, come on forward. And then exhale, press on back. Not letting those hips sink when we come into that plank. So we don't want to sink those hips too far. And downward facing dog, we curl the toes under, lifting the sit bones high toward the sky. Adho Mukha Svanasana. We'll alternate the heel presses here, sink into one heel, bend the opposite knee, and switch and flow a few times. Just waking up the back of those legs. We're finding ourselves at an inverted V with the hips floating to the top of the sky. Crown of the head, reaching toward those thumbs. A micro bend into those elbows. And make those back of those legs happy, stretching them out. We can always keep our knees bent if we feel anything in our lower back or finding a rounding through the lower back. Last round here. As we sink into both heels, let's go ahead and step or hop or float forward to a forward fold. Bend those knees a little bit. Inhale, rising on up to the sky. And exhaling, hands by our sides, mountain pose. Let's get ready to move in through some easy sun salutations. Inhale, reach the hands overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Right leg steps on back to a kneeling lunge. Uncurling the back toes. We can stay here or reach the hands overhead, opening up here. Releasing, we'll press it back to child's pose. With extended arms, we inhale, lift forward to our kneeling plank. Shift the shoulders past the wrists. Lower those elbows by our sides. Sink those hips for a cobra. Use the strength of the core to press us back into child's pose. Right leg steps through and forward into that kneeling lunge. We can always grab that knee. We can stay here once we find the knee over that ankle, and then slowly take the hands overhead as an option. We can always keep the hands on the earth if we'd like. Releasing, let's go ahead and step it forward. Curl the toes under, step it forward. Inhale, rise it to the sky, and then we'll find chair. Circle sweep those hands, sitting down into our missing chair behind us. Inhale, reach it on up. And exhaling, forward folding. Left leg steps on back to that kneeling lunge. Uncurl those toes. Front knee over front ankle, staying here or taking hands overhead, reaching toward the sky. Engaging the glute on the rear leg helps to open up that hip flexor. Slowly releasing. Let's press it back to child's pose with extended arms. Let's inhale, lift on forward to that kneeling plank. Nice and strong through the upper body and core as we slowly bend our elbows by our sides. Into crocodile, sink those hips, finding cobra. So it's the strength of the lower back here. Little to no pressure into those hands. And then slowly release. Use the core, press us back to child's pose. So it's not just upper body strength that pushes us back. Left leg steps through and forward into that kneeling lunge. We can stay here or take hands overhead, reaching to the sky. As we exhale, let's step it forward, forward fold. And then rise it to the sky. And let's find chair again. Exhaling, circle sweeping those arms. Continuing to flow. Forward folding, exhaling. Right leg stepping back to that kneeling lunge, uncurling the back toes, staying here, taking hands overhead. As we release, we'll take the hands to the earth, step back into our child's pose. With extended arms. Inhale, come on forward to that kneeling plank. And then bend the elbows right by our sides. Sink those hips, finding cobra. Release. We press it back to child's pose. Right leg comes through and forward again. Grab that ankle if we'd like, holding here or taking hands overhead. As we release, we'll step it on forward to our forward fold. And inhale, rise it to the sky. Let's find chair, circle sweep. Those arms. You can always have hands at heart center or hands on those thighs. Either variation is a great choice, or have hands forward, just shoulders are relaxed. Inhale, reach it up. Last round for sun salutations, forward fold. Exhale. Left leg steps on back to that kneeling lunge, uncurling the back toes, holding here, or taking hands overhead. And then slowly releasing to child's pose. So just press it back. And then lift forward to that kneeling plank, shoulders past the wrists, and exhale to that hover, holding, then sink the hips, finding our strength in the lower back for cobra. Release. Let's press it back into child's pose. Left leg steps through and forward into that kneeling lunge. We're holding here. Option to take our hands overhead or keep the hands on the earth. And then use those hands to help ourselves forward to a forward fold. And inhale, rise it to the sky. Let's find chair. Exhaling, circle sweeping those knees and ankles stay stacked. Let's find two more. Slowly release, sink it back. Good, last one. Sinking here, holding, hands forward or at heart center onto those thighs. Option to lift one heel. We can lower that heel and switch to the other side. Sinking into both heels. Sink those hips perhaps a little bit deeper. Notice if those knees go in or out. Just make sure that they're aligned so they're not ducking in. Inhale, rise it to the sky. And hands to heart center. We'll take our right leg to step back. So right leg steps back into warrior one. Be facing this direction to help open up to you. So with the right leg back, heel pressing toward the earth. Hands at heart center. We try to square the shoulders to the front edge of the mat. Front knee works toward over the front ankle. As we lengthen the back leg, we may feel a good stretch through that calf or into that hip. Last breath here. And then let's go ahead and take our hands to those thighs. Hinge forward. We may feel a little more lengthening through the back leg, even though we're trying to keep our weight evenly distributed between both feet. We can gaze at the toes, taking pressure out of the neck or the shoulders. We're going to come into standing split. So we'll take our hands ahead of the front toes, lifting the back leg toward the sky. We can elongate here. Just holding. So the back toes are pointing to the ground. Sometimes they roll out, but just roll them back in. Draw that right hip down just a little bit. If we'd like half moon, let's go ahead and take the left hand to the earth, right hand to the sky as we come up and open, stacking the shoulders. Now toes are open to the side as our hips stack on top of each other. Closing back into forward fold. We return both feet toward each other and inhale, rise it to the sky. And let's find chair. Exhale. Inhale, lift it up. Warrior one, this time left leg draws back. Hands at heart center. Gazing out forward as if we're the peaceful warrior within. Maybe the heart rate is elevated and we just take a breath to calm. Or maybe our mind starts to wander and we focus on that breath. So we're just pressing evenly through the four corners of the back foot, even through the front four corners of the front foot. And then think of engaging the lower core. So drawing up, active here. One more breath. Now let's take the hands to the thighs, hinging forward, but the weight is still staying even through those legs. We're gazing at the front toes, giving ourselves a moment or two here to adjust as we settle into the posture. Coming into our standing splits on this side. So we'll take the hands about a foot ahead of the glutes, lifting the back leg toward the sky. Remember that left hip's going to want to open, and so let's just draw it back down. Give ourselves another breath or two here, getting a stretch for that standing leg. Doesn't matter how high the back leg is lifted or not. It can be lower or it can be lifted toward body height or even higher without lifting that left hip. Option to stay here or come into balancing half moon. So if we like, we can slowly open and rotate. Stack the shoulders, the toes out toward the side. Now if we have a block, we can always take the hand to the block, bringing us closer to the earth. And then slowly release to a forward fold. Bend those knees. Inhale, rise to the sky. Exhaling to our chair. Circle sweep those arms. We can lift one heel. We can lift the other. We can be into both, or if we like, lifting both into a balancing chair. You can always have hands at heart center or hands on thighs. Notice how balance comes into play here, that those legs do some work, firing them up. Feels good. Sink into those heels. Inhale, rise it to the sky. And exhaling to a forward fold. And just holding here. We can always take our hands to a block if that feels better to us. You can always bend those knees if we're rounding through the back. We're going to step back with one leg so that we can open up into a wide straddle. So standing straddle splits, we open up our feet so that our toes and our hips and our shoulders are in the same direction. Let's rest down. We can take our hands to the earth, palms or fists if we need a little more length. We can always grab a block and draw the torso up a little. Or we can rest our head toward the earth, feeling a stretch on the inside of those legs or the back of those legs. Let's go ahead and find one leg and bend that knee just a little as we sink over to the side. It's just a small bend in the knee. And then we'll slowly switch to the other side. So bending the opposite knee. Feel that stretch. We're going to do that 2 more times on each side. So let's bend one knee. Stretching the inner thigh. And switch to the other side. Move with our breath. One last one. Side to side. See what feels good here. We can always stay static in the center. As we come back to neutral, let's go ahead and bend those knees and help ourselves up. We're going to find our way into a nice malasana, so our squat. So let's turn the toes at an angle toward the corners of the mat. We'll take our hands at heart center and sinking down. Let's then find Mula Bandha, so that's pelvic floor lift. Then Uddiyana Bandha, that's activating the core gently in and up. As we hold here, let's find a small flow with our arms. So let's go ahead and extend those arms out and bring them back together with the breath. Inhale and exhale. Last one. As we release, we'll turn into one direction, finding our warrior two. So just adjusting one foot to be parallel or the heel pushing away. The other toes will go forward and then opening up for warrior two. As we bend that front knee now, gazing over that front hand. As we find triangle here, we'll lengthen those legs, reach on forward, hand to the thigh or the shin. And releasing, coming on back. We'll face both toes forward toward the hips. And then we'll switch so that we can do our warrior two the other direction. So if we want, we can have it parallel to the mat or draw that heel slightly further back. Toes pointing forward and then arms out here. Think of Mula Bandha, that pelvic floor. So like a tight pair of jeans as we kind of draw up through the center column of the body. Softening through the jaw. And triangle, we lengthen those legs, reach, where our hand stops on the thigh or the shin. The other hand can rise to the sky. We can gaze up or we can gaze down, or even close our eyes if we'd like more sensation. We try to keep the hips open, like the hips are stacked on top of each other, so are the shoulders here. Now that resting hand's not putting all the weight into that hand. It's nice and light. It's just there for support. Last breath here. And slowly rising on up. Then we'll find our way back to that straddle, and then we can step our feet in. Let's find our way to the ground and do a little bit of stretching through our hips. We'll inhale, reach the hands overhead. Exhaling to a forward fold. Let's find our way to child's pose, so we'll step it back to those shins. And those hands underneath our forehead or arms by our sides, wherever's most comfortable, shoulders away from our ears. So as we transition to a seating position, we'll help ourselves up, swing those legs out in front. So here with our hands, fingers pointing toward our hips, little bend in those elbows. Remember, we could always do a stacked fist if that felt better for us. We'll take the right ankle across the left thigh. Toes toward the shin and lifting here. Lift that heart center. Find what feels good into that outer hip. We can always adjust that leg to be further out or closer in if we need a little more sensation. So this is our seated pigeon pose. Feels very nice through the hips. If there's too much pressure on the knee or anything, we can always adjust. So make sure that we're comfortable here. If it's too much pressure onto those hands, we can always roll back and hold behind that knee. So the choice is ours for our seated pigeon pose. Last breath here. And as we release, we'll switch to the other side. So if we were up, we're lifting that heart center. This is a nice way to open the chest still. Toes toward the shin, let that knee sink. If we're reclining, we can relay back, hands behind, threading through to the other thigh. So whichever variation suits us in this moment. Remember, one side could be done one way, the other side could be done another. And as we release, let's find our way to boat. So Navasana pose, we sit back, hands behind those thighs, shoulders back. We don't want this rounding here, so lift the chest. You can stay here. We can start to float the legs. We can always keep one foot on the earth or the other foot. Or we can extend those legs. We can always extend those arms out by our sides. Lots of variations, or finding our yacht, heels together, toes out, making it just a little fancy. We're building core strength here, working on some balance. And then let's slowly release. We'll find our way to the earth. So let's go ahead and scooch those hips forward, hands behind those knees as we roll back one vertebrae at a time, knees to chest. Just a few more minutes in our practice. So round out with our bridge pose. So soles of the feet to the earth. We'll take our hands by our sides, neutral head, so not gazing over toward the video. Gaze up toward the sky. Let's press into the outer shoulder. So just tuck one shoulder under and then the other. Slowly lifting up those hips. We could stay here, even pressure through our feet. Notice if we roll to the outer edges of the foot or to the inner edges of the foot, we just adjust. And then we can have the option to stay here, or if we'd like, interlace those hands behind our back and then roll one shoulder under and then the other, just even deepening the chest expansion, the chest lift. We create a little tunnel or hollow between the shoulder blades, so we lift those hips a little higher. We may feel some work through the legs, nice opening through the chest. This is really good for the psoas muscle, the muscle that runs from the lower spine across the front of the hips to the upper thigh bone. Sometimes that muscle can be tight from when we're sitting And this just gives us an option to stretch it out here, taking pressure off the lower back over time. Let's slowly unwind those hands, unroll those shoulders, and one vertebrae at a time, lowering back out to come out of bridge pose. We'll find the knees to the chest with a gentle sway, Apanasana. One of our most favorite stretches, Reclining Twist. So let's go ahead and find those knees at 90 degrees. So knees over hips and ankles, and knees in alignment, hands by our sides. We let those knees drift over to one side. We try to keep the shoulders anchored. We could start to gaze over the opposite shoulder. Option to extend the top leg or even both legs, and then taking the hand closest to it, running it along that thigh or that shin. We can add gentle pressure into that twist. But here we still want to focus on that deep belly breath. That inhale, belly expands. The exhale, belly contracts. Let's do that a few more times with the breath. This is massaging the internal organs, really good to wring out all the old to bring in the new. Rejuvenating the body, relaxing with the breath. And then as we release, find an exhalation and legs drift back to the sky. Inhale here and then exhale, legs over to the other side. Now we can take the hand to that thigh, or we can extend the legs. We gaze over the opposite shoulder or even close our eyes here. Give ourselves a few breaths to let go, to relax, to enjoy all the goodness of our practice. Watch where the thoughts go. We can acknowledge the thoughts that come in and out, but without attaching, we just let them drift by. And then as we release, exhale, let the legs come back to the sky. Knees to chest, little circles, massaging that lower back. Well-deserved massage. Those knees find those circles. And then the opposite direction. Reclining butterfly pose for our Shavasana today. Quick, short Shavasana, soles of the feet together, knees open. We could always take blocks underneath the knees if we'd like. Option for cactus arms kind of open, palms to the sky. We can always create a diamond with those hands above our head if we'd like, similar to the leg positioning. Find what's comfortable for the chest and the shoulders. We can close our eyes here. And just open up with the breath into the body. And as we exhale, slowly releasing everything into the earth. Relaxing the jaw, relaxing around the eyes, relaxing the crown of the head. Moving down in the chest and out into the arms. Just feeling heavier and heavier with each exhalation. Down through our hips, through our inner thighs, around our knees, the lower legs, and out into our feet. Let's start to bring in some emotion that we would like to feel the rest of the day. Perhaps joy or gratitude, serenity, contentment. And then when we land on a feeling that we'd like to bring in, let's start to imagine that feeling radiating throughout the body. Find a spot in the body where we can find that feeling, and then breath by breath, let it grow bigger and bigger. So that with each breath, we now feel that feeling from head to toe, from toes to hands, to space between space within the body space. And knowing that we did good things for ourselves today, we give ourselves a sense of gratitude. So we start to wiggle the hands. Let those knees float together like butterfly wings coming up. We can roll to our side. Let's use those hands to help ourselves up to a seated position. Crossing those legs here. Let's inhale, reach the hands overhead. And then slowly hands to heart center. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling, imagining all the goodness and bringing it into ourselves. 1 more, last one. Inhale, breathe deep, expand, expand, expand. And as we exhale, bring our hands to our heart center. And it's with a deep sense of gratitude that I thank you for letting me lead you through the practice today. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Namaste. Thank you for joining me in this practice today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Please leave a comment of what your positive feeling is that you want to carry for the rest of the day, or what you'd like to see in another video.